How's it going, everyone? My name is Oskip and I'm back with another transformation build. Previously, I recreated and transformed Jacksepticeye's Minecraft base, which included his castle, windmill, and portal. Now, a lot of you have been suggesting which YouTuber's base I should transform next, and LazarBeam was the most requested by far, so I decided to take the challenge. I started this build the same way I start any other build, by terraforming the landscape to fit my needs for the build. This whole project was challenging, to say the least, as LazarBeam has a particular theme to his base. I'll see if you can figure out that one for yourselves. If you've been watching Lannon's playthrough, then you'll know that his house is a distraction, and his real base lies beneath it underground. I watched through his videos until I figured out the complete layout and then finished off by making the two entrances, one underneath and the other through the waterfall. Coming around to the front, I adjust the landscape and start building the front entrance along with his chicken farm. I did spend a little while readjusting the location of it as I had to get it lined up with the inside of his base. Lannon has all of his stuff sunken into the ground, so I decided to cut out a section of land and turn that into his melon farms. Alongside it, I decided to dig out and start creating his little village. I surrounded it with a moat of bamboo and pandas, and at the very end I dig down to make his villager frick dungeon. In front of his house, I add in Jack Black and Jacqueline Black's enclosure, his automatic miniature melon farm, and a pen for his horse Bartholomew. I then continue to do some more terraforming by fixing the river and scattering in a few trees. Next, I make Lannon's giant melon atop the hill next to his house, and then finish off the outside by creating the Thunderdome. And yes, I had to follow the same tutorial that he did to get the TNT cannon working. Lastly, I couldn't forget it, so I added in his fishing room, melon shower, and lastly, the beautiful toilet. And with that, his base was done. Now, to avoid getting demonetized further, I think it's about time we transform this to help Lannon get that beautiful green symbol. The first thing I wanted to do was edit his house with something that is similar and fits the bill. So I chopped away at the sides and began creating the base of what would be the giant clock tower. Did you see what I did there? Clock tower? Clock? Yeah? No? Okay, good. Anyway. I make the initial layer and then slowly start staggering it up. Once I'm happy with the design, I copy it around to each side and then continue on to the next level. Finally, once at the top, I mess with the clock face design and then begin to mirror it to each side of the building again. And lastly, I add a roof to finish it off. And then begin working on the buildings attached to either side. Because these buildings are attached to the tower, I decided to keep the same design that I used there, and once happy, I mirror it to the other side, and then copy and paste it to the opposite side of the tower. I raised the entire clock tower by a few blocks and continue to do some terrain editing, and lastly, add some weathering to the tower and a path to the entrance. It was time to make some changes to the glorious melon farms. This isn't the most efficient design by far, but I'm going for the aesthetic here. I dig out some small streams between the farms, and then turn the random tick speed up to increase the growth time of the melons, before fencing off the farm with some stone walls. Now that the farm was complete, I thought it would be time to edit the giant watermelon. I create a spheroid and build the terrain up around it. I make the dark green stripes that run through it, and then add the stem connected to the ground. Lastly, I scatter in a few leaves around to make it appear as if it was overgrown. It was time to edit D Village. Again, I wanted to do something similar with these houses as I did with the clock tower. Instead, however, I made them into miniature bell towers. I added a bed and a working block for each type of villager, and then started pacing them along, making 8 in total. Once again, I walled it off and brought the path down through the village, right up until the end, which has the staircase that leads down into the dungeon. Now, this is where all the villagers come to, well, frick. I wasn't really sure what to do with this, as there's only so much you can really do in Minecraft, but it ended up looking like something from 50 Shades of Grey, so okay. Anyway, back to the front, I added in the panda enclosure, which went underneath the pathway, and made a little pen for Bartholomew and the chickens, while editing the terrain again. Underground, I decided to keep things relatively similar to how Lannan made it. I just spruced up the place a little bit with some more stone brick and quartz. I continued at the front and brought the entrance forward and made it flush with the terrain, and lastly hid it with some vines. Now, I wasn't really sure what to do with the Thunderdome, as it was just a solid cobblestone mob killing farm. I didn't change the shape of it at all really, I just made some small changes here and there to the design, mixing in a few different block types, and then ended up with this almost castle looking design. Finally, I had to edit the interior of his actual base. I raised the ceiling to provide a bit more breathing room and added in the support beams around. I extended out and made his personal little kitchen and smelting area. And on the other side, opened up and extended out his storage space. I neatened up the entranceway by the waterfall, and made some small edits to the enchanting room and bedroom. But with that, let's wrap things up, shall we? And with that, we're all done here. Thank you all so much for watching and sticking around to the end. If you do want to stay up to date with my content, then make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got links down in the description for my Discord where you can chat with the community, listen to music, talk about Minecraft related stuff, or just post some memes. I'll also add a link to my Patreon as well, which if you want, it's where you can download all of my builds. Anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.